buhay. I'm Epino. Now let's move on to the power distance between the Philippines and Saudi Arabia. Examples why Saudi Arabia power distance rank up to the 72% of high level inequality of power and wealth within the society. Because of what? Because of the first one is the religion. Saudi Arabia monarchy, if you are not Muslim, you are not allowed to enter the Saudi Arabia without an invitation. So kung kailangan po pala Muslim ka bago ka makapasok sa kanilang lugar. So you may also not leave Saudi without an exit permit. Yan, mahalaga din daw po. Bago ka po umalis sa Saudi, kailangan mo muna ng permit na ka sa may mga proseso bago ka makaalis sa kanilang lugar. Those who visit Saudi Arabia are expected to follow the same true Islamic laws and Saudi. So yan, pag nasa Saudi Arabia po tayo, marami tayo kailangan sundin na rules and regulations. Then, the Islamic faith allows this power distance, and it could be said that even promotes that people be in a superior positions without any questions. Many Muslim believes in the idea of the power and question superiority based off the verses of the Quran. So yan, marami din ang mga Muslim ay naniniwala sa kanilang Biblia na dito ay tinatawag na Quran. Next is number 2, the psychological and sociological terms, where certain age children have obtained a specific mindset based on the cultural practices and norms, and they have ingrained beliefs of what their places and roles in the society is. So yan, may mga paniniwala sila psychological and physiological terms. So Saudi Arabians believes that obeying your superiors and supporting your government is what of the utmost importance. So naniniwala din daw po sila na kailangan nilang sundin yung mga nakataas sa kanila at suportahan yung kanilang gobyerno. So, the Saudi Arabia accept this high power distance as part of their cultural heritage. Then lastly, the less job opportunities. While Philippines or PH power distance has 94%, where we can clearly see that Philippines has first one is strict command and control structure. The second one is doesn't allow low-ranking individuals to challenge superiors. The third one is only leaders can make decisions and subordinates can challenge them. And the last one is there is a large gap between the wealthy and poor. That's all. Thank you.
Mabuhay, I am Ablola, here to discuss to you the dimension individualism of Philippines and Saudi Arabia. As seen on the graph, the score of the Philippines on individualism is 32, making it a collectivistic country. Saudi Arabia, on the other hand, scores a 48 on individualism, making it a collectivistic country but almost individualistic. Since both countries has a collectivistic culture, let us discuss what does it mean when a country is collectivistic. A collectivistic culture supports each other as a group. The people are interdependent, achievement as a group is ideal, decisions are done as a group, and responsibility for family and extended family is practiced. Moving on to why Saudi Arabia is considered as a collectivistic country, first of all is because of the religion. The religion in Saudi Arabia is roughly 93% Islam. The religion promotes love, caring, and peace. In the Islamic teachings, it teaches them to respect family members, be humble with other people, and having group loyalty. Number 2, in the workplace, the focus is on personal relationships, building trust and loyalty. They will help each other in order to make their organization be successful. Most of the people also work to provide for their families. Number 3, family is important. The children will sacrifice some of their interests for the parents' wishes just to provide happiness in the family, such as arranged marriages. Additionally, extended families are expected to be close proximity to each other in a certain area. Number 4, lastly, it is because their dominant value is loyalty. In their culture, when it comes to failure, it does not affect only the individual, but also the honor of the family and the clan that the person is involved in. Up next is the Philippines. Let us look at some evidences that makes them a collectivistic country. first of all, is strong family ties. In the Philippines, almost all family will have their grandparents or extended family in their household. Children are taught to respect the elderly and to help their parents when they get old. Number 2, bayanihan, which in the community, people help each other in their town to finish a goal or objective together without expecting any rewards. It is one of the personalities of Filipinos to be helpful to their kapwa, meaning their fellow Filipino or friend. Number 3, people power revolution. This is where the Filipinos got together to end the dictatorship of Ferdinand Marcos. It shows here that the Philippines collectively joined together to achieve their goals together as a group. Filipino pride. Filipinos are proud of their fellow Filipino who are successful in different industries such as Miss Universe, sports competition like boxing, and artists internationally. And lastly, number 5, pakikisama. This means getting along with each other. Filipinos value friendships and creating strong relationships with other people. And that is it for the dimension individualism.
Good morning and mabuhay. So I am Adeline Dejelo and I am here to show you the data of masculinity of the Philippines and the Saudi Arabia. So data shows that the Philippines total population has a total amount of 111.8 million as of on January 2022, wherein it increases by 1.5 million or approximately 1.3% plus between the year 2021 and 2022. Furthermore, 49.8% of the Philippines population is female, while 50.2% of the population is male. So when it comes to masculinity and femininity, the Philippines scores 64 on this dimension and belong to the masculine society. It also says that masculine conscious people live in order to work, whereas managers are expected to be decisive and assertive. So the emphasis is on equity, competition, and performance, and conflicts are resolved by fighting them out. So let's take a step back with the difference of femininity and masculinity in the Philippines. One great example of it is inside a household. So men are known to hold the most authority and are responsible for the primary income, security, and safety of the family. So they are expected to work outside the home, earn money, and to provide for their family. And women have traditionally taken responsibility for the domestic space as the nurturers and bedrocks of the family. So they are expected to look after their husband and children, prepare food, and provide love and warm-heartedness for the family. But nowadays, it is common for men and women to share financial control of the household. Sometimes brothers and sisters may share some domestic duties such as cleaning. But when you look on the perspective of a traditional Filipino household, it is commonly tagged as patriarchal, or a system of society in which authority is held by the oldest male. So in a patriarchal family, the father is head of the family and the descent is reckoned through the male line. So this is in part due to the machismo attitudes and the masculine standards of many Filipino men. Now, let's talk about Saudi Arabia. So despite a history of limiting the visibility of women, the application of harsh gender laws have instead made them the most visible part of the Saudi identity. So while in Saudi Arabia, it is known to be one of the largest country in the Middle East, the total population of KSA stands at 35.884 million, wherein the total male population is around 20.70 million and the total female population is 15.14 million. So this country, which scores 43 on the dimension, is lower than the Philippines, who scores 64. So gender roles are highly patriarchal in Saudi Arabian culture like in the Philippines. So traditionally, females are secluded from most public decision making and are expected to obey their fathers, brothers, and husbands. But women has more authority if she is the oldest member of a household. So they are considered to be the carrier of family honor and hence carry the greater expectations of social compliance as particularly vulnerable targets that needs to be protected. So a woman's independence and freedom to make choices for herself varies on an individual basis depending on the attitude of her closest male relative. So Saudi Arabia has had a legal guardianship system that requires women of all ages to have a male guardian. It can normally be a husband, a brother, uncle, or a son. So to further elaborate, gender norms and roles have been changing rapidly as industrialization and economic growth have impacted ideas about men's control and women's public involvement. In recent years, the government has already issued a range of decisions to significantly increase women's participation in Saudi Arabia in terms of labor market and access to government services. So an increasing number of women are gaining an education and entering the professional workforce. Thus, Saudi Arabia's total female workforce participation rose to 33.6% in the first quarter of 2022 from 20.5% in the same period in 2019. Thus, having a high score in masculine indicates that the society will be driven by competition, achievement, and success, with success being defined by the winner or best in field. So it is a value system that starts in school and continues throughout organizational life. While a low score in feminine means that the dominant values in societies are caring for others and quality of life. So a feminine society is one where quality of life is the sign of success and standing out from the crowd is not admirable. So the fundamental issue here is what motivates people wanting to be the best or liking what you do.
The next dimension is the uncertainty avoidance. For Saudi Arabia, this country scores 64 in uncertainty avoidance, while the Philippines has score of 44. Therefore, Saudi Arabia holds strong codes of belief and is more likely to control the future, while the Philippines has a low preference for avoiding uncertainty. Saudi Arabia has a need for rules. Their country sees time is money. Their culture has an urge to be busy and work hard. The ultimate goal of this population is to control everything in order to eliminate and avoid the unexpected. As a result of this high uncertainty, the society does not really accept change. Rules and traditions are very important to them. While in the Philippines, schedules are flexible, hard work is undertaken when necessary. Punctuality does not come naturally because most Filipino are known for their Filipino time, which means they always come late on the assigned time. Philippines is a free country who are open in change and diversity, just like the community of LGBTQIA+ that shows how the Philippines accept the diverse people. Also, Philippines has a set of rules that is not restricted compared to the Saudi Arabia. So when it comes in the religion, Muslim is the dominant religion in their country. Within the religion, Saudis follow their way of life and strictly obey the law of the Holy Quran given to the Muslim by their gods. When Muslims greet each other, they do not say kamusta or magandang umaga, like most Filipinos say. They say assalamu alaikum, which means may peace be upon you. Prayer is taken very seriously. So, following the strict rules of Islam in Saudi Arabia is a prime example of why they have a high score in uncertainty avoidance. In contrast, the Philippines is 80% Catholic, so most of its traditions are based on Catholic and Christian beliefs. However, people in the Philippines has a freedom of choice when it comes in the religion they want to belong, unlike Saudi Arabia, which is very strict and serious when it comes in their religion and belief in their gods. That's why the Philippines got a low uncertainty avoidance. So when it comes in the Saudi Arabia behavior and communication, rules are key in order to show respect, which is very high value within their culture. A more traditional way for men to greet each other are shaking their right hand and placing their left hand on the other hand on the shoulder of the other people, and then kissing each other on the cheeks. And during conversation, women do not show eye contact because this action demonstrates respect to each other. And in Saudi Arabia, alcohol and pork are illegal. They are considered unclean. Feet are also considered unclean. So, in Filipino, to show respect, especially in older people, we say po and opo, and pagmamalo sa mga nakakatanda. Also, when talking to others, Filipino has a diverse language and regions. Filipino don't usually have a proper communication and style. So when it comes in the food, Filipino has no forbidden food, except for animals that are not really eaten, just like dogs, cats, and etc. So that's why Filipino has a low uncertainty avoidance, because many Filipinos are just going with the flow on their lives, having no strict rules to limit themselves. So when it comes in their appearance, Saudi Arabia has the rules to follow when it comes in their appearance. Just like never show bare shoulders, stomach, or thighs, and most of the body must remain covered, and women must wear high necklines, sleeve, and dresses to cover up all their body, and scarf covering for her hair. So while in the Philippines, there is no dress code or clothing for women and men. There are no rules that need to be followed when wearing clothing. Filipinos have the freedom to express themselves in their clothing. So Filipino are not strict on dress code as long as it's proper and appropriate. So this evidence shows how this country are different from each other in the uncertainty avoidance dimension. Saudi Arabia having a high uncertainty avoidance, while the Philippines scores a low uncertainty avoidance.
So good morning and mabuhay. So I am here again to discuss the long-term or the short-term orientation. So societies that have a high long-term orientation encourage thrift and efforts in modern education to prepare for the future, whereas societies that score low on this dimension value traditions and norms and view change with suspicion. Wherein a study of 26 European countries found that countries with long-term orientations are more likely to adopt e-government than those with short-term orientations. So cultures that have long-term orientations are likely to be compatible with ongoing knowledge acquisition activities that require persistence, assimilation activities that often requires consensus building, and application activities that are ideally based on sound plans. On latter part, to think in terms of I rather than we. Short-term orientation focuses on the present or past and consider them more important than the future. And this dimension describes how every society has to maintain some links with its own past. While dealing with the challenges of the present and the future, the societies prioritize these two existential goals differently. So normative societies, which score low on this dimension, for example, prefer to maintain time-honored traditions and norms while viewing social change with suspicion. Those with a culture which scores highs, on the other hand, take a more pragmatic approach. So they encourage thrift and efforts in modern education as a way to prepare for the future. Since there is a low score of 27 indicates that the Philippines can be more normative than pragmatic, which means that people in such societies have a strong concern with establishing the absolute truth. So they are normative in their thinking. So they exhibit great respect for traditions, a relatively small propensity to have for the future, and focus on achieving quick results. While Saudi Arabia has somewhat more of a long-term orientation compared to other countries like the US and Australia, but overall, it is still considered short-term oriented. Why? Due to the fact that Saudi Arabian society has great respect for tradition and focuses on short-term results. Examples in the Filipino business culture, since People can be preoccupied with avoiding hiya, in English term means shame or embarrassment. A Filipino is unlikely to directly refuse a proposal or reject something you say, even when they do not agree with it. Therefore, it focuses on hints of hesitation. So listen to what they say, but also pay close attention to what they don't say, and might implicitly means and double check your understanding. So also to avoid directly saying no, a Filipino may respond with a statement to the effect of bahala na, which generally means that it is up to God's will or fate. That's all for today, and thank you very much for listening.
Good day everyone, I'm Dieter Abueva and I will discuss the last dimension, which is indulgence. As seen on the graph, the score of the Philippines on indulgence is 42. Saudi Arabia on the other hand scores a 14 on the indulgence. This dimension is defined as the extent to which people totally control their desires and impulses, based on the way they were raised, and relatively weak control is called indulgence, and relatively strong control is called restraint. With a low score of 42, the culture of the Philippines is one of the restraint, and also Saudi Arabia with a low score of 14 on this dimension can be said to be restraint society. Restraint stands for a society that suppresses gratification of needs and regulates it by means of strict social norms. These are the examples and evidence why Saudi Arabia got the strong control or having a strict social norm in their society. Number 1 is you are not allowed to bring any alcohol, pork meat, or pornographic material into Saudi Arabia. These offenses are considered a crime against God and you will be arrested by the Islamic police officers. Number 2, you should refrain from holding hands and public displays of affection, even if you are married, although the penalty will be considerably more severe if you are caught holding hands if you aren't married. Number 3, you are not allowed to dance in public. In 2016, a 14-year-old boy was arrested in Saudi Arabia for showing off his dance move at a traffic light. Music is also banned in most public places, so best to keep your dance move for at home when you are by yourself. Number 4 is you are not allowed for taking pictures of buildings and people. Maybe it is safer to just leave your camera at home. Street photography and especially posting the pictures online afterwards can land you in jail. The only way that you are allowed to take pictures in Saudi Arabia is if you get a permit from the Ministry of Culture and Information. Even with that, they still advise you to be careful. Taking pictures of women in Saudi is also illegal. Number 5, looking out for family sections and cafes and restaurants. If you are a male who is alone, don't go in. The family section is only for families. Single men need to eat in the men's only section of the restaurant. Most restaurants will only serve food to women ordering alone as takeaway and not allow them to eat by themselves in the restaurant. Number 6, gender are separated in any public activity. Do not provoke these traditions by any controversial behavior. Men and women aren't allowed to mix freely with each other if they aren't married in the fear that the women might seduce the men. Number 7, Saudi Arabia is known for its unfavorable treatment of women in the workplace, which prevents them from living happy lives. And they give more rights to men to work in their society. Number 8, though the women in Saudi Arabia do not have all the rights that a Filipino woman has, they still live a very happy life. Number 9, the women of Saudi Arabia can't attend school and college like any of their peers. Number 10, they also do not have the freedom to terminate pregnancies without permission from the male guardians, and their divorce and custody rights are restricted. So in contrast, all of these restrictions in Saudi Arabia can be done in the Philippines. That's why the Philippines got the 42 on this dimension. Here in the Philippines, it is not very strict. Even if it is strict in the Philippines, there are still many stubborn people. And the main thing to remember that even though there are a lot of restraints that are in the place in Saudi Arabia, they aren't all that different than the restraint place in the Philippines. There are so many factors that go into measuring happiness that it is hard to place it on a scale. When you are visiting Saudi Arabia, you just have to remember that while there are norms that are followed, every situation is different on the individual's personality, history, and wealth.